Welcome to Energy and Metabolism. Um, and yes, energy, lion metabolizing a giraffe. Okay, so with metabolism, what you are concerned about in the cell is its ability to take in molecules that can have high energy. And what you want to do enzymatically is um, disassembly. You want to take them apart. In contrast, the cell also needs to synthesize new things in order to grow and react robustly to environmental changes and things of that nature. So when we talk about activation energy, as far as metabolism goes, pathways are catalyzed or activated by enzymes. And enzymes, we'll see in a few slides, are proteins that have the ability to make reactions go fast. And that has to do with the fact that very often when you start, let's say, disassembling a molecule, you're going to have a certain amount of input of energy to get it started. It's called activation energy. And enzymes are fantastic at lowering the activation energy so that, again, reactions can go fast. So the amount of energy that you have to put in to initiate a chemical reaction. And a catalyst is a chemical term that means that the catalyst is going to lower the activation energy and speed up the reaction. And an enzyme is a biological catalyst. So an enzyme, I'm going to show you in a sec, is going to be able to lower the activation energy by being a catalyst that will make it go fast. And if anything, your body loves things that go fast. So this is a diagram showing that if you didn't have an enzyme, you'd have to put in a fair amount of energy to get everybody started, to get your end product. If, on the other hand, you use an enzyme, a biological catalyst, then the amount of energy is really very, very small to get everything started. And that, you know, is going to make the reaction proceed more quickly. Okay, enzymes are biological catalysts, and they do have a unique three-dimensional shape. So the enzyme, very specific for a very specific molecule of a very specific shape. And that also is going to help cells differentiate between different molecules. And they will ignore the ones that have the wrong shape, and they will only react with the ones that have the right shape. Okay, so it says here, because the enzyme itself is not changed or consumed in the reaction, only a small amount is needed and can be reused, which is fantastic. The enzyme can help speed up the reaction, but you can use it over and over and over and over again. All right, so here's my little enzyme, and the purple is the enzyme. If you notice that the shape of where the molecules are going to bind are very specific shape. Here are the molecules. In this case, it's two molecules, and they're going to sit lock and key specific to what is called the binding site, these active sites. And then once they are in this active site, then they're so close to each other that the amount of energy used to break that bond is very, very small, so that this reaction can occur quite quickly. But you don't alter the protein enzyme in any manner, shape, or form, so you could just reuse it and start it over again. So it says most enzymes are proteins with active sites. Substrates or molecules bind to the enzymes at these active sites, forming an enzyme substrate complex. All right, and enzymes are used in metabolic pathways. And the pathways are multi-step, and each step is catalyzed by a different enzyme. And as much as the enzymes have the pathway in common, each step is very specific for a specific enzyme. Okay, this is a diagram from hell. The reason why I've included it is just to show you how complicated things can be, which is fantastic. The cell does it. We don't have to understand it. It just does it anyways. And all of these reactions, sometimes is sequential, sometimes not so much, but every little blue dot represents a different enzyme. So you can tell a cell can do lots of different metabolic pathways to do lots of different things, but that they are multi-step, and each step has to be catalyzed by a different enzyme. Okay, biochemical pathways. So these biochemical pathways, or these metabolic pathways, they're called biochemical because you're dealing with molecules that are chemicals, and so you could say metabolic pathways, biochemical pathways, but these are the units of metabolism. So we're now going to talk a little bit about what metabolism is, because every cell has to be able to do metabolism. And they come in two flavors, anabolism and catabolism. So anabolism, these are Greek, Latin terms, and loosely speaking, anabolism can be translated as synthesis. So cells have to make things. The cells, the neurons in your brain have to make neurotransmitters. So when, however, you synthesize something, you have to use ATP. To bring these things together to make the neuropeptides or the neurotransmitters, you have to have energy in the form of the energy currency molecule of ATP. Now, cells also have to bring in high energy molecules as fuel. And these metabolic pathways are called catabolism, and loosely translated, it means breakdown. Degradation, digestion. You're going to break down a high energy fuel to release energy in the form of ATP and make building blocks. So the two metabolic pathways of anabolism, catabolism, they depend on one another. You need to have breakdown, catabolism to make the energy, to make the ATP, to make the building blocks. And then anabolic pathways can synthesize and make whatever they need from the building blocks and the energy produced by catabolism. And so it goes. And that is a healthy cell that can do both. So this is just a diagram that I found. It may or may not be helpful, but this is catabolism, and it shows the breakdown. It's a form of metabolism, and cell respiration, and the stages of cell respiration like glycolysis in the Krebs cycle, and also you could put electron transport chain, but also things like digestion. They are all breaking something down to make energy and building blocks. That's catabolism. And then we have, well, what is cell respiration? Every cell in your body wants to do this metabolic pathway. We don't torture students indiscriminately because it's complicated. And very often the students feel like, oh God, why do I have to learn this? But this has to do with the fact, and I'm going to try to keep it simple, with the fact that every cell in the body needs building blocks. Every cell in the body needs energy. And then they do other things. Cells in the stomach make digestive enzymes. Cells in the brain make neurotransmitters, etc. So where do you get the energy? Where do you get the building blocks? What every cell in your body has decided is they're going to get their energy and their building blocks to do their synthesis from cell respiration. It's also called aerobic respiration because you need oxygen. But you take something simple like glucose, simple sugar, along with oxygen, you get it inside the cell, and it's going to break it down in 3 stages, and it's going to make 38 ATP. And that is so much better than breaking glucose down without oxygen. You only make 2 ATP, and you also make a lot of building blocks. But it does have 3 stages, and that's what we'll talk about, and I'm going to simplify it as much as I can. So we have all cells do cell respiration, also called aerobic respiration, and it's a way of getting energy and building blocks. All right, so the most common energy yielding molecule used is glucose. So when we talk in AMP2 about maintaining proper blood glucose levels, that's why it's important, because every cell wants access to the oxygen in circulation and to the glucose in circulation. All right, aerobic respiration. Glucose combines with oxygen, and the 3 stages are break it down in glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation in the electron transport chain of the mitochondria to yield 38 ATP and small carbon building blocks. Okay, this is a slide that is about synthesis. So anabolism is a form of metabolism where you synthesize or build new molecules. And DNA replication, RNA synthesis, other types of synthesis like lipid and protein and glycogen, they are all trying to build something. They are all trying to make something. So that's anabolism, and you need to put in energy and you need the building blocks to make it, to make something, to synthesize something. All right, so let's talk about an example of making something, an anabolic reaction. So DNA replication, where the cell makes a copy of their chromosomes. RNA transcription, where a cell makes a copy of a gene using or making messenger RNA, which is a copy of the gene. The message is allowed to leave the nucleus where the protein can be built, and that's your protein synthesis. And all these reactions, DNA replication, RNA transcription, protein synthesis, ATP is needed, as well as the small carbon building blocks in order to synthesize the desired product. And that is the end. So that's a really sweeping overview of metabolism, and the key points will definitely appear in the Moodle quiz. But that's it for now.